I do love being a priest. From time to time, I have a conversation with somebody who will tell me, when are they going to let you guys get married? And I never quite know how to respond because it's offensive. I know they don't mean to be, but it's offensive to me. It suggests that clearly there can be no value in my life, that my life must certainly be void of love and companionship, that I must be so lonely and sad all the time. Nothing can be further from the truth. But I always struggle with how to respond to that because the truth is I understand their confusion. Because I've always felt called to the priesthood, never felt called to celibacy. My whole life I always had a girlfriend. And I fell head over heels in love with every single one of them. I was convinced every time I went out on a date that this is her. I was 13, but I met the girl I'm going to marry. And she is going to bear many children for me because I'm going to have a ton of them. Always wanted a big family. Always had my heart broken. Over and over and over again. My sister was in the mall once, and she ran into a former girlfriend of mine. And she asked about me, and my sister said, well, you know, he's a priest now. And my former girlfriend was surprised, and she said, wow, really? Is he happy? And Carrie Ann said, I would never have thought that Jimmy was unhappy before until I see how happy he is now. And that is the truth. When I finally went into seminary, when I finally started to live this life, when I finally started to just say, Lord, whatever you want, I am yours, everything opened up. It didn't just make me happier than I ever thought I could be. It redefined what happiness is. It redefined what wholeness is. It redefined what love is. It changed everything. But you know, if we want that, we have to learn how to die. Because God cannot raise what we refuse to let die. I often think and wonder about what Abraham was planning to tell Sarah about their son. Sarah, who went through the years of shame at not being able to have children. Sarah, who went through torture at the hands of her maidservant Hagar when she was able to get pregnant by her husband. She, who at a very old age gave birth in a time when it was a very risky thing, even for a young, strong woman. So many women died in childbirth. So many children died during childbirth. But Sarah went through it all. And now, Abraham is planning to sacrifice him to God. What was he planning to tell Sarah? It's probably something like, well, you see what happened was. But God would never have let that happen. What God wanted was not the sacrifice of Abraham's child. Abraham was living in a time and a place where human sacrifice was commonplace. It's what people did to their pagan gods. And God wanted Abraham to know, I do not want you to sacrifice to me your children. I want you to sacrifice to me your will. I want you to die to everything that you think you want in life. And when you do that, I will raise up for you a future that you could never even dream of. Give to me just your will, and I will raise up a nation. There's a midrash, which is an ancient Hebrew writings. It's a commentary on Scripture. And there's a midrash about Moses and the people of Israel at the Red Sea. They're standing at the Red Sea, and of course, Pharaoh's army is right behind them. They are in that proverbial place between a rock and a hard place. They've got Pharaoh's army in slavery on this side, and they have certain death in the sea over here. According to the midrash, the sea didn't part immediately. Moses said, "Go." The people of Israel stood at the bank of the Red Sea and refused to go. They were terrified. They were filled with horror, filled with terror and fear. And then Nahshon stepped into the water. And Moses said, "Go." And he stepped into the water, and it was up to his ankles, and it didn't part. And Moses said, "Go." And he took another step, and it was up to his knees. And he heard his family and his friends calling him back, "Nahshon, what are you doing?" His wife crying because she is going to be a widow and have to raise their children alone. Nahshon, come back. And Moses says, "Go." And he takes another step, and it's up to his waist. And he takes another step, and it's up to his chest. And he takes another step, and the water is now up to his nose. And Moses says, "Go." And Nahshon takes one more step, and the waters part. Nahshon died a little bit with every step. Nahshon, who said, "I am tired of slavery. I am tired of the Egyptians." And he took a step in the water and died there. And God raised up freedom. He said, "I am tired of fear." And he took another step in the water. And he died. And God raised up courage. And he said, "I am tired of listening to all the other voices turning me away from my God." And he took another step into the water. And all of his doubt died, and God raised up a faith. And Nahshon became the ancestor of all the kings of Israel, from David on to Jesus Christ. God cannot raise up what we refuse to let die. St. Paul said to the church in Rome, "Are you not aware that we who have been baptized into the death of Jesus, that we walked into the water just like Nahshon? We took a step in and we died, and God raised us with Christ. When we came out of the waters, we were new, we were different, and it redefined what glory is for us. It redefined what hope is for us. It redefined what love is for us. It didn't just make it better, it completely redefined it. When God raises up what we let die, it is nothing like what it was before. We know the stories of Jesus' resurrection. Jesus was raised by God, and when Mary Magdalene saw him, she thought he was the gardener until he said her name. He was walking alongside his disciples in the Gospel of Luke on the way to Emmaus, and they had no idea who he was until he broke the bread. And then their eyes were open. He was different. There was something about Jesus that was so different that they couldn't even recognize him. That's what God does for us. That's what the waters of baptism does for us. We step into the waters of baptism and we die to all of the things that we've been carrying around our whole lives, and then God raises us up to be something so different than what we were before. But God cannot raise what we refuse to let die. And we are just as stiff-necked and obstinate as the Hebrews in the desert. We keep on breathing new life into things like anger, resentment, bitterness. We keep on breathing new life into all those things that we want to get rid of. But as soon as they are almost dead, we breathe new life into them and we refuse to let them die. And God cannot raise up what we refuse to let die. We are about to watch as 9 people go into the death of baptism and God raised them to something new. Throughout the Triduum, Holy Thursday and Good Friday, the baptismal font was in the exact same place that we have coffins during a funeral. It was layered with the pall, which is the garment, the white garment that we put over a casket. Because the waters of baptism, that font, is both a tomb and a womb. You enter the tomb, but you come out of a womb, reborn, renewed, given new life. We go in with everything that we want to let die so that God can raise it up. So if you're tired of being anger, take a step in the water and let God raise up for you a peace and a joy that you would never have considered. If you're tired of being addicted to pornography, to drugs, to alcohol, to cigarettes, if you're tired of living your life chained to something else, then step into the water and let it die and let God raise up for you a freedom, a liberty that you would never have thought possible. If you are tired of being afraid, tired of being resentful, if you are tired of just being tired, take a step into the water and let it die. God will raise up for you a life that you could never have considered. But God cannot raise up for us what we refuse to let die. So let this be the Easter, that we let it all die. We come to the water and take a step in and take another step until it's all gone, until it's all dead, and there is nothing in us but life and grace and peace and holiness. Let it die. Let die all those things that we have been keeping alive that just kill us. Let die all those things that keep us from living the life of grace. Let die all those things that keep us away from God's joy and love and mercy. Let die everything that keeps us on dry land afraid. God cannot raise up what we refuse to let die. And so let it all die. Take a step into the water. Die with Christ so that we can be reborn into something that we could never have imagined.